Hi, my name is Nana and welcome to my channel, A Puzzling Lamb. In today's video, I'm going to review the German brand Sunshine Puzzles. But first, a little bit of history about the brand. So, as I said, it's a German brand and it is owned and founded by Ellen, who also does all the illustrations for the brand. And I wrote to Ellen and I asked her if she could tell me a little bit about why she started making puzzles. And she told me that she has been a puzzle fan since childhood, but eventually she grew a bit tired of all the same landscape photos and images that were the only thing really available on the market for a very long time. So about 8 years ago, she started to think about creating her own puzzle brand, but she said that it still didn't really feel like the time. But then, when COVID happened, as we all know, that created a huge boost to the puzzle community, which finally gave her the courage to make her own puzzles. So in the spring of 2022, she finally released her first collection with the help of Kickstarter, which you can see when I show you my small collection of her puzzles is very different from those standard landscape pictures that she grew up with. So the first one I want to show you is this Christmas puzzle. This is not the one I'm going to review in this video. Didn't quite fit the time of year. And I think I showed this one in my latest puzzle haul. But as you can see, it's very colorful, very fun, very different. So I have this one. And then I have this one, which is the one I'm going to review in this video. Again, super colorful and very different. But I'm also going to review this puzzle because she does make some mini puzzles with some of the images from her 1000-piece puzzles. So you can also get this one in 1000-piece. So of course I also try this out and review it. So going in to this puzzle, I was very excited to see what the difficulty level was, because as you can see, it's very easy to sort. You know exactly what section a piece is going to, but it also has some pretty big sections that are not solid colored, but a repeating pattern. So I was very excited to see if this was going to be an easy puzzle because of the clear sections, or a difficult puzzle because of the large sections with repeating patterns. So let's go back in time and see how difficult this puzzle is. My first impressions of the box is that it's a lovely size, it's really sturdy, and it has a nice matte texture. On the front, you have a nice big image of the entire puzzle. It is covered up here by the logo, but that's not that big of a deal, which I'll show you why in a moment. Then around the edge here, you have this pink and yellow colors, the signature colors of Sunshine Puzzles. And these colors, they continue around the edges. So here you can see on the long edges, you have Sunshine Puzzles, the name of the puzzle, Wild Cherry, 1000 pieces, and the size of the finished puzzle, 48 × 68 centimeters. On the short side here, same information, excluding the size of the puzzle. Here the same as on the other long side, and here the same as on the other short side. And on the back, whoops, like this. And here you can see why it's not that big of a deal that this is covering up part of the image. First of all, with this specific image, it really isn't that big of a deal either. I mean, I can kind of guess what's going on behind here. But you can see that on the back, you do have the entire image with nothing covering it up and still in a very decent size. Then you just have some of the normal warning information things designed in Germany, made in Turkey. And here you have the Sunshine Puzzles website and address. There are no information about the artist, but as I mentioned in the intro, the artist of these puzzles is the woman who made this brand, so no one really is getting snubbed here. So yeah, I really love this box. Now let's take a look at the pieces. So the pieces are in a plastic bag, but oh look, it is a resealable bag. We love to see that. Oh, and also one thing I often forget to mention when I do my puzzle reviews is whether or not the puzzle was wrapped in plastic. And that's simply because normally when I get a puzzle, I remove that plastic right away because I don't like the look of that on my shelf. So often I actually forget whether or not there were plastic around a puzzle box. But as you can see here, this one was closed with a sticker here on each side. I have opened this puzzle before, but you can see just these stickers here. So no plastic wrap around this box. And then a reusable plastic bag. And then nothing else in the box. There's no poster, but you do get two nice versions of the image here. So let's take a look at these pieces. It's a little tough to open here. Save that one for later. So let's see. Okay. My first impression here, now that I'm looking closer at them, I think this might be the same pieces as Penny Puzzles and Travell. And now that I think about it, I do believe I made that. I discovered that when I first bought it, but it's been a while, so I forgot that. And also, it was made in Turkey, wasn't it? I believe the other ones are also made in Turkey, the other brands. So if this is true, I know the quality is going to be lovely. But let me just go through it. So first of all, no paper backing. You know I love that. The pieces feel very sturdy. They're nice standard thickness here. The texture on the pieces is really matte. And let's see, compare the colors here. This one is going to be easy to compare. That looks to be the exact same color. The exact same color. So no color difference between the pieces and the box. Now, puzzle dust that I also often forget to mention. There are a little bit, and I also think I do have, I don't know if you can tell, do have a little bit on my fingers here, but it's not too bad. And again, puzzle dust has never really bothered me, but it's definitely not the same amount as in a Ravensburger, for example. So yeah, I'm pretty sure these are the same pieces as Penny Puzzles and Travell, so I know this is going to be lovely to put together. I love that quality. Really some of my favorite puzzle pieces. So I am not complaining that there are more brands who use this same cut type of pieces, quality, whatever you want to call it. So now let's talk strategy. So I think I'm going to do this a bit differently than I normally would, because normally I would pull out all the edges and maybe not even sort anything more, perhaps one or two things. But here I actually think that I am not going to sort out the edge pieces, but instead do a full sort of all of these different patterns. And as you know, if you've watched other of my videos, I never do a full sort. I hate to do a full sort. It just takes way too long. I just want to get started with the puzzle. But here, I think it's going to be very obvious which pieces go into which section. You can see here just all yellow here. This red one is probably here. So yeah, very easy to tell which puzzles go to which section. So I think this really is the obvious thing to do in this puzzle, is to do a full sword. And then, as I said, I'm not going to pull out the edge pieces, because instead of putting together the edge first, as I normally would, I think it'll be fun to simply put one section here together at a time and see the puzzle come together like that. So yeah, that's the plan. So let's just get started with the sorting. I have now completed the 2 biggest sections, and I'm loving this. And it was definitely the right call to do a full sort with this puzzle. And the sorting, it took me about 25 minutes. And then, of course, once again, I forgot all about timing myself. So I really have no idea how long all this have taken me. But it's really fun. It's not an easy puzzle, but I've never been stuck. And one of the reasons are the pieces. So you can see there's a really great variation in piece shape types. So you both have, all the 4 ins, 3 out, 3 in, all the piece shape types are there. But not only that, but all the innies and outies are very distinct from each other. So you can see here, you can easily say that, I need a big, slightly wonky out. Here it's a small, very round one. Here it's a really small one. So you can see there's a lot of variation, which makes this really, really doable and an enjoyable experience. And I was right, these pieces are the same as Penny Puzzle. So now we know that there are Penny Puzzle, Trowel Puzzle, Magnolia Puzzle, and Sunshine Puzzle that all have these pieces. There might be more brands out there, but these are the one I know about, and I am not complaining. These pieces are just amazing. So not only, as I said, the piece shapes are wonderful, but the way they fit together, they fit tight enough so it's easy to move sections around. I think you might have seen that when I put together this section especially. I moved all these cherries around quite a bit and it was really easy, but it's also not that tight that I have to worry about the pieces getting damaged when I take them apart again. And obviously the texture on the pieces are this just lovely matte slight velvet texture. Yeah, I really love these pieces. I would not mind if more brands use this quality. I love it. Now, as you can see, I still have quite a lot of sections left. There's this section here that's quite big. This also a little bit, but it's mostly smaller sections now. So I'm really not anticipating this taking very long. Again, I wish I could tell you how long it's taken me so far. I'm really sorry about that. But it really isn't as difficult as it looks. Here, for example, it's very easy to, once I've sorted all the yellow pieces for themselves, to complete the edge around here. The same thing here. It was really easy with the edge. And then I just took out all the pieces with black and put them together first. And then, of course, there were a lot of pieces that were only yellow. But at that point, so much of the things around it has been put together, so it really wasn't that difficult. Here, I started with all the pieces that both had the cherry and the green bit. I don't know what you call that in English. And then from there, it was easy to put together the rest of the cherries and the leaves and then the red dots. And again, when there were only pink pieces left, it wasn't that difficult. I'm doing a lot of shape sorting, which isn't necessarily necessary, but it does help a lot, and I really don't mind shape sorting. But yeah, I'm enjoying this, and I'm sure I'll also enjoy putting together the rest of the puzzle. So before I tell you my final thoughts on the puzzle, let's take a look at this mini one. So as you can see, it comes in this plastic bag already assembled, because as you can read there, it says 99 piece puzzle with greeting card. So it comes with a greeting card. And I know that she is thinking about changing the packaging of these puzzles to some bags. I'll show you some pictures here that she posted on her Instagram of some prototypes. And I asked her, and she said if she starts using those bags, there won't be room for a greeting card anymore. So if you really like these greeting cards, if you want one of those with your mini puzzle, perhaps you should hurry up and buy some from her. Now, I like this packaging and I think it's cute with a greeting card. I don't mind that the puzzle already comes assembled, but I also really like these bags, the look of these bags. They look cute, they look a bit different from what other brands with mini puzzles do, and I can see that it is more practical than this packaging where it already comes assembled. But as far as I understand, she won't be changing the pieces themselves, so let's open up and take a look. So you can see this bag, you can reuse it, but you also have to be careful not to lose it, because then you have nowhere to put your puzzle. So put that to the side. So let's take a look at that in a moment. So this is just a piece of paper, I think. There's an envelope and this postcard, greeting card. So I like this. You could also, if you wanted to gift this, just not take the puzzle apart, write a message on the back, take it apart and put it in the envelope and send it to someone. That would also be really cute. And it actually also looks really cute with the card and the puzzle next to each other. But let's see the pieces here. So one thing we can already tell before even putting the puzzle together, since it's already together, is that these pieces really lock together nicely. You can see I can easily pick up the puzzle, which is also necessary with this type of packaging, so it doesn't come apart while it's still in the bag. But before I look too closely at the quality here, let me just take this puzzle apart. Okay, so that wasn't difficult at all. It was easy enough to take apart without damaging the pieces, because that is sometimes a problem with pieces that lock together so tightly that you can lift up the puzzle, is that you can damage them when taking them apart. And especially with a mini puzzle like this, they are sturdy enough and they were easy enough to take apart, because with small pieces like these, they could be really sensitive to damage. That's not quite right, but yeah, they were sturdy enough. There are a few pieces here that are not cut all the way through. So let's just see if I can take these apart without damaging them. Just carefully here. Yeah, that was easy enough. No damage. This is just something that happens sometimes. It's not a huge deal for me. I have tried sometimes with puzzles where it was way too many pieces, so it was just annoying, but this wasn't too bad. Okay, so obviously no paper bagging. I love that. And one thing I also really notice is that, as you can see, there are all kinds of different piece-shape types, and I love to see this in a mini puzzle. A lot of mini puzzles only have this normal 2-in, 2-out shape, simply because when pieces get small enough, a piece shape like this, it would just be too delicate, too easy to break if it were much smaller than this. But yeah, the quality actually feels exactly like the big puzzle. The surface here is the same lovely matte, smooth texture. So yeah, I think I'm going to like this. I also actually think that this is the same quality as Travel's mini puzzles. So yeah, it feels good, and I'm just noticing now, I'm very, very sorry about how my nails look. I can get very lazy when it comes to removing nail polish. So yeah, sorry you have to look at that. I hadn't really noticed before. But yeah, let me put this together. I think I'm going to do a classic time lapse with this since it's not too big. Perhaps I should find my timer so I can actually time myself for once. So, one moment. Okay, I'm back. I have my timer. Strategy. Well, with a small puzzle like this, I usually don't really have any, but obviously starting with this ice cream in the middle here and perhaps do the edge. But let's see how long this takes me. Oh, and I am not speed puzzling this, just to be curious of how difficult this is. So that's 10 minutes and 14 seconds. And again, I wasn't trying to hurry, but it really wasn't that difficult. The gradient was really nice. It was really fun to put together and no false fits. And it really helped with the different piece shape types. So yeah, I really have nothing bad to say about this. And I like that the images she has used for these small puzzles are actually the same as a lot of her 1,000-piece puzzles. So this one you can buy in 1,000-piece, and I think it would be really fun to have both of them and have them next to each other. And I also really like the size of these pieces. They are small enough that it adds to the challenge, but they are not so small that they are unmanageable. I cannot say that. They're not so small that they're too difficult to handle. I will say it like that instead. So yeah, nothing bad to say about this. And again, I think it's a preference what kind of packaging you like. It Was no problem for me that I had to take it apart first. I mean, this way you are certain that all the pieces are there. You have already seen that all the pieces are there. But again, I can definitely see why it would be good to have them in a bag, even though it would be a shame to miss out on this card. So let me just see if I can put it back again. Okay, I'm going to do it a bit differently here. So put in the puzzle at the end. Okay, this is more difficult than I thought it would be. So yeah, perhaps not the most practical way to store this puzzle, even though it does take up absolutely no room on your shelf. I can see why it would be good to have a different kind of bag. Okay, finally. I don't think that actually was as difficult as I made it look. You just had to put the puzzle in the bag with that black piece of card there. So yeah, I don't mind this packaging. I would definitely buy it again with this packaging, but I also do not mind at all if she comes up with a different way to package these. But yeah, love this little mini puzzle. Now it's time for my final thoughts on the 1000 piece puzzle. I think you might be able to tell that I absolutely loved this puzzle for many reasons. First off, the quality, perfect quality, and I knew it would be the moment I recognized the pieces. But one thing about these pieces that this specific image really highlighted was the variation in piece shapes, and this is a perfect example of the fact that it's not only the image that determines the difficulty level of a puzzle, but it's also very much the quality of the pieces and especially the piece shapes. So this puzzle was very, very doable. But if the piece shapes had all been the 2 in, 2 out piece shape, or even with the varied piece shape types, but if all the innies and outies had been very similar, this would have been a nightmare to put together. But the fact that I could very clearly tell the shape of the innies and outies, there were some that were really small, some were really big, some were crooked, some were more straight. It made it very easy to find and identify the piece I was looking for. And yeah, it just really, really helped a lot. This would have been such a difficult image with other pieces. But one thing that also made this quite a lot easier than I thought it would be is that when you first look at it, for example, these 2 sections here are the same. But actually, when you look closer, you can see that the lines on this section have sharp edges and are a little bit thicker than these that also have rounded edges, if you can see. And actually also, these wet colors are slightly different, which I didn't notice until I put together these sections, and then it was actually quite obvious. And also, I think that's easier to see here. In this section up here, you can see these darker blue confetti things. Some of them have rounded edges, and then, I just have to see here, some of them have sharp edges, and some of them are also thicker than others, and the same thing with the pink ones. So this one is quite a lot thicker than this one. And the puzzle is just filled with these little differences. The same thing here. These blue confettis here are also different. Yeah, and the fact that these triangles are different colors. So overall, this image is just really well thought through, that there's so much variation within the sections that you don't really notice until you puzzle it. So overall, a lovely difficulty level. It's not the easiest puzzle I have done, but it was very, very doable, and it definitely helped do quite a lot of shape sorting, but it's not necessary to do this puzzle at all. Now, the only slight negative thing I can think about with this puzzle is that there are some puzzle dust, and I say negative because for me personally, puzzle dust doesn't bother me, but if you're really sensitive to that, there are some in this, so be aware of that. But honestly, it was not a big deal, and it was nowhere near the amount that are in a Ravensburger puzzle. And another slight thing is the fact that there's no poster. That would have been nice, but I didn't really need it because you have this large image, which was the main one I looked at. And then when I puzzled this section up here, I had this image, which is also a nice size. But yeah, a poster would have been nice. But I do absolutely love the fact that the pieces come in a resealable bag. I wish more brands did that. Now for the price of these puzzles. So on her website, which I will of course link down in the description, her 1,000-piece puzzles costs 25 euros, which I think is a very respectable price for a puzzle of this amazing quality. I know of a lot of brands which are more expensive than this, but where the quality is nowhere near as great as this. So I'm very happy about the price. And then the price for these small ones, the mini ones, is 6 euros, which I actually think is quite cheap compared to other mini puzzles. And you might not get a lovely box for them, but you do get the greeting card. So overall, I think this is a very good price. And one other thing that is also a very good price is actually the shipping. So shipping within the EU costs 7.5 euros, which I think is very cheap. It's very rare I can find that cheap of a shipping from other countries, even within the EU. And then to the US, to Canada and Australia, shipping is 20 euros. I don't quite have a feel for if that's cheap or not, but I will say that 20 euros is sometimes what I have to pay for shipping within the EU. So I think that's cheap without knowing what shipping normally is to those countries. Another thing that's worth mentioning is that often she also actually has a few other brands that she sells on her website. I think she just added a few from Happily Puzzles, is that what it's called? So yeah, definitely worth visiting her website. Oh, and one thing I almost forgot, I also want to talk a little bit about is her selection of images. So obviously the fact that this is a quite new brand, relatively new brand, and that she makes all the illustrations herself, there's not a huge selection of images to choose from. But they are all colorful and fun, like this one. I'll show you a few pictures here, and I will say that if you're not a huge fan of this more abstract graphic style, whatever you want to call it, she did recently released a new collection called Mr. Burgerman, which is more of a scene, an actual scene, if you know what I mean. I'll put up some pictures. And those are also really, really cute, and I'd also love to have a few of them in my collection. So yeah, go check out her website, buy some of her puzzles, see if there are other exciting brands on her website, and if you want one of these mini puzzles with a postcard, perhaps hurry up and buy a few, because she may be changing the packaging of these. And I also think I might someday have to have this image in 1,000 pieces. It's it's definitely not the last time I buy a sunshine puzzles. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. And if you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing. See you next time.